Very quickly about Lovable. I love that many of these tools are European. It has, it's built on top of these large language models. It doesn't tell which one it uses. It probably has some algorithm under the hood for whatever it chooses to use, which it thinks is best. And then it also has an integration with the backend as a service called Superbase. It's an open source version of Google's Firebase. Just to mention that. Today, we are going to build an event registration system. And we have a website today on seniordev.com. That website is written in Webflow. And in Webflow, they have a collection where my events are. I'm going to show that in the demo. But basically, this is going to retrieve the events through an API, show them on this page. I'm going to style it in the senior dev colors. And then I'm going to add support for users to be able to sign up to the event. So without further, I can also mention these are the prompts I'm using. So that could be interesting if you guys want to replicate it at a later point. So let's get started. I will start with the first prompt. It's so simple to get started. I tell it I would like a simple event system where users can register an event, the name of the event, the organizer. It should show a list of events, and here this is important. It is the property it should the events should have. You'll notice that Lovable. This is the AI prompt to the left. It gives a summary of how it understood my input. Here to the right, there will be a preview, live preview. Here there will be routes. I will get back to this one. And Superbase we will do. And I can also show you that it will come up. Yep. Now it has the first version. You will see the code here. It's actually a React code, very simply with Tailwind. So you can always toggle between those two things. So it gives me a list, but I would like to have it in the same theme as on my Webflow website, like this. So what I've done, I basically just taken a screenshot. So it looks like this, and then I just remove the menu points because else it replicates that too. And let's just feed it in. Just take my notes. The senior dev theme, and boom. You could also upload here a Figma file or some other ones from these design systems. I haven't tested it, but I assume it would be even better because this is just a screenshot. The Figma will have a structure, but it works surprisingly well, this too. What you will see here you see kind of how it generates code on the fly here. One thing that's interesting when I work with the prompt, every time I run through this demo, it's slightly different result. So it's very bit strange, but it is how it is. Okay, now we have events, but these are hard-coded in variables in the code. So we want to connect it to Webflow. Now I'm going to show you how that works. This is our website. This is the CMS system we are using. I want to show you what this collections are called. Basically, this is basically a headless CMS where you add content, and then the view is separated from the content. And here you see that I have the events. Here you can create custom schemes. So all the event information about the events are here. So this is where we want to connect to. So that's that. You go back. In order to connect, you need an API token. So the general rule, you go to apps and integrations, you create a token, and then you give it access. I already have created it, so I won't do it again. I will use this Lovable token, and then I have my own cheat sheet right here. So just that's how I got it. What I also do, I like always to connect to the APIs to see with my own eyes how the response is. And this is how the response is when you query that connection history with this token. That is relevant because in my next prompt now, I will do like this. Yeah. So now the next thing before I run that, I need to connect it to Supabase. It's very simple. This is the backend as a service. You choose a project, you create a project. I'm going to call it demo. It creates a Postgres database. This password to the database, it only shows one, so it's important to copy paste it somewhere. Region is Stockholm. Good, we created. And now you have a project here. And the two parts that is interesting for us is the database and edge functions. Let me start with the database. What I like to do is always to connect to the database to see what happens, so you get some insight. I don't really like magic. One thing to pay attention to, use the connect with the transaction pooler. Not this doesn't work because of IP4, so I will do it like this. Then I will go to a database client. I use DataGrid. Remove this. I call it Lovable demo. Then a connection string always have this following format. The host is here. This is the username. The password I copied here. And it uses the default database. So, and important, since it's a pooler, it has a slightly different port. Test the connection. Voila. Great. There is no tables yet, but there will be very shortly. So now we can connect it. Perfect. And it gives me some suggestions to what to do, but I am already prepared. So I will run this prompt. What I tell it to do, if we want to fetch the event from Webflow's headless CMS collection, the URL to use is this one. Actually, it's often smart enough to find these endpoints itself, but it keeps guessing, so it's always better to be more explicit. Then I want to store the output here in our database, and this is the important part, that you have a mapping from the response to the database structure. And it's smart to understand that this is a table, column, and this is the response from Webflow. And that's why it was important for me to connect here, because here in response, I see that it's called field title, field data title, description, and especially this description too, because that it struggled with a lot first time I did this. Okay, so it has a SQL query. It makes me look through it. I always pay attention to the date timestamp here, but I know it looks good, so apply changes. Let's follow here. Now it will create what is called a function. I will show that shortly. Yeah, this one is actually the function. I just see it by the name. No, this. I don't know. No, let's say it before. Okay. And here you can imagine that you can also set, I haven't tried it yet, but you can also set up a list of the endpoints your own backend provides. Yaha. There's this is when the AI is very human, but often it's very managed to fix it itself. But it's so strange. Each time I run it, different results. So okay, often I have to refresh, and here it comes up. Good. There are two ways. Okay, I can just do this. Then I provide the API token here. The collection ID, I found it by playing around with the API. So let's just call it a little bit magic for now to keep the presentation short. All right. So now I downloaded it. We can go back to the database and verify that it has mapped it correctly. And as we see here, title, description, topic, image, date, all correct. That's very good. But then we want to do some more prompting. 2 seconds here. Here it escapes it. This is because of security, but in this case, we would like it to not escape it. Great. I'll remove that. Then my next, I would like to style the event card slightly different. So I have a small screenshot from the event system. So I'll just feed that in. So it's, no. Yeah, it should be organized event card as in the screenshot. Okay, great. Then show the newest events first in the list. Use table events and column date. And then I noticed each time I do this, I need to reload. And now we see today's event first, which is correct. Then we would like add event image, table event, colon, image under the type event. Yes. Then also don't cut the height of the event image. I could play around if I could give it more prompts, but for now I just try to kind of like limit the scope. So I have a little bit mixed experience when I have too big prompts. Great. Move the section to an own page. Just grab admin. Great. There's the, yeah, right. There we are. It will have been moved to an own page, which is here. Now we are going to add registration. So I tell it that all I need is the email. Yeah, this one should be moved over here. I'll just keep it a little bit short so I don't take all the time. And this one should be removed. This is duplicate of this. Great. There you go. Perfect. To refresh. Great. Let me see here. Tab.com. Register. Then I should have a new table where you see my registration. Then the last thing I want to show, I want to have an admin page that shows me everyone that's registered. Great. And here you see it. Last part, publish it. Voila, our own event system in 23 minutes.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. So I can share my final thoughts. It has a lot of similarities with regular programming because mentally, these prompts, this is how you mentally think when you're doing programming. You will get stuck many times. Of course, this one went very smooth because I've been running through it many, many times. I remember first time I set it up, then I also learned the system. I spent 5 hours, and then I spent a couple of hours the following days to kind of like adjust it. And of course, if you are, the more you know, the less you get stuck naturally. That's how programming works. I noticed that the prompting makes me a bit lazy. So when I got into a problem, I had to spend some mental energy doing a context switching and think like a good old-fashioned programmer. I have no doubts that these tools in one way, shape or form will be part of programming. For now, it's more for prototyping. I'm a little bit uncertain how kind of like well it scales when it gets bigger. And also the danger when it scales is that it's always the AI that is in control. So you don't really understand the code because you didn't write it. So that's something to be aware of. And I also noted it was quite expensive. I probably spent, I don't know, 16, 20, 25 hours, and it already charged me $150. So if I used it all the time, that would be an issue. All right. Thank you so much.
Any questions here? Just we also will have a Q&A session afterwards, but if you would like to ask something right now, you're welcome.
I have a question. Hello, Thomas.
Hello.
I have a question regarding the expensiveness. Is it paid by prompt that you already used? You have some limit of prompts, or how it works?
Yes, you buy tokens basically.
Okay, and do you have maybe a comparison with the other tool like Cursor?
No, but in our next event later in June, I want to show a demo of JetBrains' version of Cursor AI called Juni. And I think it's a bit cheaper, to be honest, but ask me again when we have that event and I know it better.
Okay, Thomas. Thank you so much.
Thank you.